The core contention between me and William Draven is the reign of Antiochus IV, whom Michael W. Ford praises in his Hanukkah video. It's a Christmas Hanukkah video. And Michael Ford whitewashes Antiochus IV, a mass murdering persecutor of the Jews who sent his generals in to strip the Jews of their religion and their culture, and anyone who resisted this imposition of his divine, self-deified will would be slaughtered, tortured. The armies went in from house to house, murdering whole families, men, women, and children. And the atrocities they committed on women who circumcised their baby sons is unmentionable. Okay. William, the academic, says, well, I'm not saying that that was a good thing. He's saying that Michael sees an aspect in his all-powerful conquest that is admirable from a Luciferian standpoint. Okay, well, you know, you could say the same thing for Hitler or Stalin or Mao or Mussolini or Franco, or as one commentator noted recently, Pol Pot was his favorite tin god. So you admire these fiends, do you? Okay, and you think I'm sentimental for finding them repulsive. That's unique. That's a unique thing to be called by someone as seduced by Michael W. Ford's romanticism about the ancient past. A romanticism that I would expect anyone as educated as William Draven to see through in a New York minute. Intellect just doesn't mean awareness, and it's you know, it just doesn't mean awareness. And I've known that for a long time, and so I have always tried to get beyond my own intellect, which is one of the reasons I rejected a university lifestyle, even though it agrees with me. Okay, it's an ivory tower, and I escaped. So, as I address that ivory tower, or ebony tower, in this, as the case may be, I think with William Draven, it's an ebony tower. In fact, John Fowles wrote a long novelette about the ebony tower. It comes to mind. William. Come on. Please. You want to argue functionality? You say you know about the history of Antiochus IV, the genocidal leader, the persecutor of the Jews, the person who outlawed Judaism and punished the people for practicing the faith of their fathers. Okay. I mean, where to even begin? You want to argue functionality and call anyone who objects to this a sentimentalist? Okay, you argue from functionality. You want to say, well, back then it was different. Hey, if you are what you say you are, you know that Antiochus's neighbors questioned his Jewish campaign. You know that his neighbors questioned his Egyptian campaign. You know that his neighbors considered Antiochus IV a loose cannon. You know that if they had had a name for megalomania back then, they would have applied it to Antiochus. You know by the standards of his own time that this guy was a flake. You already know that the term draw the line in the sand refers to Antiochus. You know that when he invaded Egypt, that the rising Roman Republic sent a single man, an ambassador, to meet him. And when Antiochus met him and extended his handshake in the Roman custom of shaking hands, the ambassador declined to shake his hand and instead circled Antiochus there in Egypt and outlined a circle in the sand with his foot that surrounded Antiochus and said, you cross that line, you're coming up against the Roman Senate. And then what did the all-powerful, self-deified, divine, all-conquering Antiochus IV do? Well, he said, I wouldn't dream of offending the Roman Senate. And he took his armies and retreated with his tail between his legs on the word of one man, because that man happened to be a Roman. And he was the rising power, and the Sassanids, the old Macedonian kingdoms that came of Alexander's legacy, were on the wane. You know that. So there isn't any excuse to argue functionality. Functionality? Antiochus IV spread himself too thin with his Jewish campaign, died at the hands of another enemy in combat, left an infant son, and consequently threw the entire empire into chaos. It collapsed with his death, and you know that. So why should I be cutting you slack when you already know that?